hello, good morning or good
Hi.
afternoon. Hi, good evening, wherever you guys are listening from, and whatever time it is. Welcome to the Combed Education Podcast. Let's talk hair. So, there's been a common theme in the last few weeks on the episodes. You guys, if you have been listening, I have brought on guests and artists and people who are way more talented in certain areas than I am. And I think it's so important to showcase other people's skills, other people's talents, because like I said before, I know a lot, but I don't know it all. And so I'm super excited today because I have one of my favorite people on this episode. We became Instagram kind of friends, and she just is super inspiring, super I think it is really just the essence of inspirational. Like you have so much going on, and it's just wild that I'm like, how are you doing it? And she's like, I don't know, but I'm doing it. So if you don't know who I'm talking about the one and only Nicki Wildflower. So Nicki, if you can just give us a little intro, just a little bit about yourself.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm so excited to be here. And you said that I'm inspiring, but really, I'm going to be honest with you. I, and we all have, we're all good in certain areas, but when it comes to formulation,
Oh my
you are the
God.
person that I go to. So, you inspire me too. We
Thank
all have our
you.
strengths, and you definitely, I bring you onto my education platform
I
so that you,
appreciate that
so
so
yeah,
much. Thank you. Thank
absolutely. But
you.
I'm Nikki. I am the founder of the Slice Squad, which is a educational platform for hairstylists. And basically, what I teach is how to slice your timing in half. So I teach hairstylists how to literally get the same results in half the time. That's my gig. It's a mixture of techniques, products, tools, placements, saturation, and the results that you can get from implementing them are wild. So, and I'm really passionate about it, if you can't tell.
Yeah, you absolutely are passionate about it. And I think what's like to me the funniest is when people, because I watch your videos and I'm also a part of the Slice Squad, guys. I am the first to tell you that you can never take too many classes, you can never educate yourself enough, and it's so important to diversify what kind of education you take on. If you resonate with the person who's educating, take their classes. I promise you that you will learn something. But it's funny because I watch the videos that Nikki posts on TikTok or Instagram, or even like just the little teasers, and people get all bent out of shape in the comments like, this is not real good, this is late, the lines are gonna come, and like people get so baffled by it. And then it's funny because then you read the people who are using the techniques and they're like, oh my god, this changed my life. And I just think it's funny. So if you haven't, and I'm sure you guys already have, but if you haven't checked out um some of her content on Instagram, she gives little glimpses and actually a lot of information on techniques and placement, and it is very unconventional. But I think one of your mottos is to work smarter, not harder, right? Like, tell me a little
Definitely.
bit about, or tell my audience and the people who are listening and the comies what all you have going on in your life and why it's so important to you to be able to work smarter and not have to take 7 hours. Not that there's anything wrong with taking 7 hours, but some of us just like don't have the time.
Yeah. So it started, all right. Let me kind of like backtrack a little bit. So it started in 2017 when I opened my own studio. I had just moved back to New York from Colorado, and I had no clientele, and I kind of just jumped right in, which is kind of like the MO of my life. That's what I do.
You really
I
do.
I just like jumped right in, flailing, arms flailing, and I was like, I got to figure this out. So I filled up my books really quickly. Went all out on marketing, and I bit off more than I could chew because I was doing these really big color transformations, but they were taking me like 4, 5, 6, 7 hours because I took a lot of amazing education, but that's what I learned. Like that's what my educators were teaching me. So I thought to myself, I've got to figure out ways, and I know because this is how my brain works, I have to figure out ways to simplify. And so I just started experimenting with all different placements and that type of thing. And next thing you know, I just completely sliced my time, like literally in half, and got the same results, if not better. Like my clients were thrilled with the results. Um, So I started teaching them to other people, which is why I'm bringing this up, because then I started the Slice Squad, which is it's an app now, which has like all of my classes on it. So that's like what I do full time now. I run the Slice Squad, and I work in the studio. I have two babies. My wife and
Yeah,
I just
that's what I was
adopted.
waiting for. I'm like, can you
Yeah,
please tell about your home life and why it's so important? You cannot be at the salon 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, but you got to
I
make
can't.
money.
I can't be. So with the Squad, with my two babies, which are 6 months and 3 months old, girl and a boy, they, I want to be with them as much as I can. And I cut my hours behind the chair to just one day a week. And the rest of the time I'm working on the Slice Squad and just being with my family. And in that one day, I can do 4 or 5 color clients without double booking, because and we're not talking like retouches. We're talking
Full transformations, guys.
the full shebang.
She posts all of it on Instagram, and it's like, how did you do 5 clients and they were dark and now they're blonde, but you did 5 clients and you didn't double, like, how?
So I'm
And
not going to say
hard.
that by the end of the day I'm not like completely fried, but
Yeah.
you know what, we make it happen, and so I make all of my income from behind the chair in that one day. And I charge for my value rather than my time, so I charge for just the end result. And so in that time period of 10 hours, whatever it may be, I'm able to make like enough income for the entire week. And that it's just magic. And my clients are like, wow, they can't. When I was out on parental leave, because I did take some time off with the babies, when I was on parental leave, they were like, I went to another salon, it took them 5 hours, I can't do that anymore, you spoiled me, like, please come back. And now I have, like, my clients are begging, I don't even have time for them. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's so
"Mm,
important, guys, because not only when we're talking about working smarter, not harder, it's such a cliche. The term is so overused, but I'm always one to say that there is value and truth in every cliche, right? So it's a cliche for a reason, but if you break it down, like, the value of working smarter, not harder means how can you be more efficient in your skill set, efficient in your formulation, efficient in how you run your business. I mean, Nicki created a freaking app. Like, it's an app on the App Store. Like, do you know how wild that is and how, like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. So when I say you're inspirational, Nikki, it's not just about like you're saving hairdressers time and helping us with the techniques, but just the shit that you do. And you're like one track mind, right? Like, you see what you want to do and then you just go fucking do it. And I was
I
talking
do."
to Cash from the Millionaire Hairstylist a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, and we were saying, like, there's a saying in my household that says just fucking do it, and it means don't think about it, just fucking go, just fucking do it. And like, you're the epitome of that. So as a stylist, as an educator, those are the ways that you inspire me. But how you work smarter is invaluable to not only you as a stylist, whoever's listening, but to your clients. Do you understand that if you can give your clients their time back, they will pay, and they will pay big, right, Nikki? Like,
Oh
you're
yeah.
giving them what somebody else can do in 6 hours, in 2 hours. You just gave them 4 hours of time they can't buy. So you want to charge $500? Guess what? They're most likely going to pay, right? Without
Yeah.
any
Oh, absolutely.
rebuttal, because they're getting the same results. So there are people who say you should charge for your time. There are people who say you should charge what you're worth, charge for your, and there's no right or wrong way. I think it's just what you look at your model and how you want to structure your business, and how can you be smarter in your pricing, and then you run with that, right? Like, Nikki
Absolutely.
charges for the end result. Some people charge per hour. Like, as long as you're getting paid and you're not like compromising and emotionally discounting and feeling bad, then it's like, it's all good. There's no right or wrong way, right?
There is no right or wrong way. Like, this is just how I structured my business, and it's valuable for a lot of people, but it's not going to resonate with everybody, and that's cool. Like, there's enough room for all of us. There are people who want to spend 10 hours in the salon, and there are stylists that want to spend 10 hours with a client, and that's okay. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't work for my business model, and it doesn't work for a lot of other people's business models. So that's why I threw
You
it
have
out
the
there
slice
into the
squad,
world.
yeah.
Yeah, but I never intended to. Like that is just like the furthest thing from what I thought my career was gonna do.
Isn't that funny how, like,
I didn't want to
you
be
think
like
one thing.
I just didn't want, like, I had no desire to be an educator. If you would have asked me 10 years ago if I was going to be an educator, I've been like, no, I just want to do hair. I'm just showing up, I'm doing the hair, and that's it. I really don't feel like I want to teach people. It's just not it's not my passion. But how did it become my passion? I don't even know. I guess I found something that I was passionate enough about to want to share with other people. And it was just that the demand was there and it kind of like needed to be filled because I started putting my techniques out there into the world and then people started catching on and being like, how do I learn this? And I'm like, well, I don't know how you learn it. And then I'm like, oh, I got to do digital courses. And then I did a few digital courses and people were like, well, I want more. And I'm like, oh, well, now I got to make a whole course library. And
Mhm.
then now we're doing Slice Squad certifications, which is like an 8 week long journey that I interview for so that we can have like a whole world full of Slice Squad certified stylists so people know where they're going to go to get their time sliced.
It is just like hearing your story, and like I've interviewed a lot of people and I've also coached with a lot of people and I've just met a lot of people, and it's so wild how when you just find something that works for you, universe kind of like pushes and forces and pushes and forces you, because
Mhm.
like you said, you didn't want to necessarily be an educator, but I think at our core as human beings, and not to get all spiritual, but it is to help each other, right? I
Yeah.
think that is our core, is connection. How can I help you? That's my number one reason why I started Combed Education. Like, how do I inspire and empower through everything that I have learned? And is it for everybody? No. But for the people who it's for, it's magical. And so I think it's just so wild to me that you went from I'm not an educator to you have a freaking app, you have a course library, you're doing an 8 week certification program. Like you, like I said earlier, you are the epitome of like just fucking do it, right? And so I guess my question is, if we're talking about not only working smarter, not harder, but like following that, just go, like, what is the advice that you would have for people? Because that's a mentality, that is a character trait of just, you just go. So for people who aren't that way, what like tips do you have to help get them out of their own head, um to get out of their own way, to find what their calling is, so that they can have this happiness? And it's not the money, it's not,
It's really not.
it's the connection, it's the helping, it's the elevating. I think for me it is anyways. I don't know if you
It is for me. Listen, the money does it
agree.
buys the money buys freedom, right? So like
Liberty. Yep.
for me, like I don't have a fancy life. Like I just don't. That's not really my style, but I do have the freedom to travel when I want to travel and spend the time with my family and hire somebody to watch the babies while I'm like teaching people, that type of thing. So it money actually buys time.
It
You
can.
know, yeah, even the money to I don't have to go to the grocery store because I'm going to pay the extra to get the groceries
Instacart it.
delivered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that is, but guys, okay, that, oh my God, Nikki, that was gold. That is efficiency.
Yeah.
That is a mindset of being smarter and working smarter, not harder. I do the same thing. I look at my time. Where do I need to spend my time? And if I can earn the right to pay somebody else to do the things for me that I don't want to waste my time doing, to me, that's success. So,
Yeah.
to your point, like 90% of my groceries are Instacarted, because that 2 hours that I would have spent at the grocery store, I would rather spend with my son or
Yeah, you
recording a
value it.
podcast. So that is that there is liberty that comes from money. And again, when we were talking, if you guys listened to the episode with Cash, the millionaire hairstylist, it was all about money, how money is a currency, but not only that, like how it's so taboo to talk about money in this industry. And what I'm trying to do is shatter that, like share your big goals, talk about money, because we all make it, we all need it, we all survive with it. So to not talk about money is detrimental. I think we need to talk about money and the freedom that
I
it
think so
gives,
too.
not to gloat, not to brag, not to stunt, right? But what's possible when you shift your mindset and shift your business and money is coming in, what can you do with it? So I'm sure starting the app wasn't cheap, it wasn't easy. There was probably a lot of moving parts to that. But when you have the currency, that gives you the liberty to pay for that. And now you can help more people.
Yeah. And I would say back to your point, because I totally have this habit of just like going off on a tangent. So I didn't even answer your original question, which
We
was
are
the
both,
just
yeah.
kind of the queen of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um but to your point, like with the just go for it thing, I want to make sure that I answer that. I've always been impulsive. Like I have ADHD. I Impulsivity is part of my inherent nature. And I have fallen flat on my face a million times in my life, like failed marriage, the whole nine. I have always just acted before I thought about it. Now, in life, that's not always the smartest thing, but in business, I do not care about falling flat on my face and embarrassing myself. And when you don't care about falling on your face and embarrassing yourself and failing, then you're not afraid to take action. Like, you know that you will find a way to make it work. Like with the slice squad thing, I'm like, I'm not saying it's going to be smooth, but I'm just going to go for it. I'm not even going to give myself time to think. Just go for it. I'll figure out the details later. Same thing with the certification program. I'll figure out the details later. I recently invested in my own business coach. It was a lot of money. Like I winced at it, and I'm so glad that I did it because it held me accountable. But I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna learn from this person, and I'm just gonna implement it. And I'm so glad that I did. So it's just about being willing to fail, because even the app, no, it wasn't cheap to start the app. It really wasn't, like, at all. And I actually lost money starting the app because I had a website. So I had a website and then I developed the app, right? And I actually, while there's more people using the app store takes a lot more of my money than the
Mhm.
website did.
Absolutely.
So I actually lost a significant amount of income by starting the app, but it's a much more user-friendly experience,
Right.
um,
And
for
in the
people. So
long term, it'll balance out.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. Listen, like it's not all about that. Obviously I'm always for growth. I'm always for like forward momentum. So that's huge for me, but it's not all about money for me. But we've talked about why money is awesome and that we should be well paid for what we do, and we should be well paid for our knowledge,
Absolutely.
and you should be willing to invest in your education, because guess what? The stuff that you invest in, you pay attention to. You
Yes.
know how fast I was willing to pay attention to everything that business coach said because
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
invested in it. You
Absolutely.
watch stuff for free, it is not going to absorb the same way. You are not going to commit to it the same way as when you've got money committed to
Yeah,
something.
it's called skin in the game. And I want to talk about that in a second. But really quickly, I want to go back to what you were saying because I think it's so pivotal for me when a few years ago I had hired a mentor and a coach to help just shift my mindset. So a little backstory, I am full Armenian, 100%. And there's a lot of, in Armenian tradition, there's a lot of pressure to be perfect and to do everything the right way because people are going to talk and people are going to say this. And like, I lived in that cultural mindset for so long that it suffocated me and it became so debilitating that I went the complete opposite direction and I rebelled and I said fuck you to everything. And then that didn't work either. So I got to this point in my life where I'm like, okay, I need to find who am I? What resonates with me? And what do I need to shift to make my big goals and dreams possible without the worry of the judgment? And because that was ingrained in me, right? Even when I was little, I was always judged. Oh, your hair this. Oh, you've gained weight. Oh, you've done like that is all I heard my whole life. And so I was happy that I went and rebelled and didn't give a fuck, but then that was dangerous. So then I kind of met in the middle. But one of the things that I worked on for a very long time in my mindset was how I viewed failure. Because up until that point, to me, failure was bad, right? If I failed at something, especially on social media where everybody could see my failures, like, oh my God, that is so bad. And everyone's going to judge me because I'm a failure. And so when you fail, it does not mean that you are a failure. There is a very different mindset that needs to shift. And so one of the things I worked on for a very long time was embodying, and I think Nikki, you can agree to and attest to this, was this idea and this mentality of fail fast, fail hard, and fail forward. So
Mhm.
every failure, and I know again this is cliche, but they're all rooted in truth, right? Every failure, every setback is a setup for a comeback, right? So
Exactly.
you fall flat on your face and you get right back up and okay, well, that didn't work. So then you pivot, right? And so I'm sure there was lots of pivoting with the Slice Squad. There was lots of pivoting with the app. Do you know how many times I've pivoted the vision of combed education because
Oh
something
yeah.
resonates, something didn't? And with this day and age on social media, yes, all eyes are on you. But if you judge you, everyone else is going to judge you. If you give
Exactly.
yourself grace, everyone else will give you grace. Like it all comes back to you and your mindset, right, Nikki? Like if you are so
Absolutely.
hard on yourself, then every time a negative comment or a hater or if somebody threw shade, that would get to you, right? If you were so hard on yourself, but you're not,
Yeah.
right? You give yourself grace. You're like, hey,
I
I
give
fucked up
myself
too.
grace. There have been seasons, even recently, where I don't have like the capacity to deal with those negative comments because I'm not like in the best place mentally. Right
Mm-hmm.
now I am. Like I genuinely don't care. But there have been times where I haven't been in that headspace and it has actually hurt, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like it genuinely doesn't matter. And and you should be really proud of yourself for breaking out of those like generational beliefs that
My
were
God.
instilled
It's
on
like in
you.
my
So
blood. It is so much
it's in
work
your
to
blood.
to like
That is
shift
huge.
it. It is
That
huge,
is
but like
huge.
it's important because like when you were talking about earlier how important it is to invest, right? To put skin in the game. That is not just in education, guys, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's on yourself too. Like hiring a mentor, hiring a coach, a therapist, anything that works to help elevate you as a person, not just as a stylist, is like so important.
There's
It's so
nothing I'm
important.
willing to spend more on than like things that are going to elevate me to the next level.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. And I think that's why you have spent so much on educating yourself. I've spent so much on educating myself in all of the things, right?
I can
From,
tell it shows.
oh my gosh, but it's worth it to me. And I put in
It
the
is.
time and it's worth it because when I look at how I was 10 years ago when I first started combed to how I am now, I see why that wasn't the time. There was still so much growth that had to happen. And
Hmm.
so trusting in that process. So you risk, you go out, you open your own suite, right? Like you're like, I can do
Yeah.
this, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do this. You open your own suite, and then maybe you failed, right? Maybe you weren't
A
able to build
little.
up the clients, maybe you weren't able to do the social media. Okay, so now what? Right? Like, so what? Now what? And then something else happens, and so it's all kind of on purpose. But if you let that fear of I'm gonna fail or people are gonna judge, you're gonna pigeonhole yourself into a very tiny little box where there's no
Yeah. And to add to your point, if there have been, so you come up with your goals, right? You should always have goals. And I see, I always have my pen in my hands. I don't know why, but it helps me focus. So, um, you should come up with your goals. And if things don't work and they fail, so like I started my own suite, I was going to be a successful hairstylist. Certain things to get me to that end goal would fail, but I'm not changing the end goal. I might just change the routes that I'm going. All right. So like I knew the Slice Squad was going to be successful. Not everything worked. There were a lot of failures along the way. Website crashes, you know, big flops, like as far as people signing up. But I knew I'm like, this is going to work because I'm staying consistent on this goal. And if I have to change the path to get to that goal, I will, but I will not change the end goal.
absolutely. Like you have to be so convicted in whatever your goal is, whether it's to start a product line. Maybe some of you want to start a product line, start a color brand, open your own salon, be an independent educator, or be a brand educator. Whatever that is, you hold on to that vision. And it
Hmm.
can take a year, it can take 5 years, it can take 20 years. Combed education has been in my head for 12 years. This is nothing new,
What
right?
made you
So
go for it?
this time around,
Yeah.
what made me go for it? So when I was doing workshops in person, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like that's when it really started to grow. And then COVID hit and I was devastated. But then I got, it was either a quote or something that it said, if it's your calling, it's going to keep calling.
Yeah.
And when I was sad because I had to cancel all these classes that people had paid for, guys, like it was the most soul crushing thing because like Combed failed the first time and now I felt like I was failing again, but it was COVID. And so it was like this whole concept of if it's your calling, it's going to keep calling. And 6 months into the pandemic, I left my salon suite, opened up my own salon. It gave me this confidence to really just like, okay, I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. I'm done. I am done with the limiting beliefs. I'm done with people telling me I can't. I'm done with the worry of the judgment. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make it online. I'm going to make it online, but I'm going to do it so different because the success in people completing online courses is about 6%.
It's so low.
It's so low. And see, I love online courses.
Me too.
But I'm also watching them at like, midnight or 4 o'clock in the morning, like when I wouldn't be able to take a class. But I shifted it because I'm like, okay, what is the industry? Why is there that gap? And especially with the hair industry, we are such kinesthetic learners. We are such like get my hands in and do it type of learners that sitting and watching a lecture for 6 hours, you're going to shoot yourself in the head, right? And so the idea came to me to make a hybrid hands-on and online workshop. And once that idea came through meditation, actually, I had to roll with it because I knew that even if people don't take the class, even if people don't buy in, the learning that's going to come from building this is going to be immensely valuable. And fuck, has it been valuable? Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, the things that I never thought I would have to learn, I'm learning, and it's rewiring my brain and how it functions, and then how I show up. And then it
It's
leads to
amazing.
like one thing just leads to another. And so it was very similar to your whole just fucking do it, right? And like, how much longer am I going to talk about combed education as a theory? Like, we need to start implementing it. It needs to
I
start being
know.
reality.
Everybody has like their someday goals. And that was another thing. I felt the same way with the Slice Squad, where I had this idea in my head for a while, but I didn't like take the steps to do it. It was just like a someday goal. And I found comfort in that someday goal. Like, oh, well, someday
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do that. No, today, do it today. Like, take the
Yeah.
steps, go find a web developer, do what you have to do, but just do it now. Um,
Because
you know,
someday is not a promise. They're not to get all like weird, but you don't know if you're
no,
going to be here tomorrow. Like, you don't.
yeah,
We just had a recent death in our family and it shook all of us because this was a very young person. And it was just a reality check of like, okay, shit, like tomorrow is not promised. So if there is a someday goal and you have the capacity, if someday you're going to go into your own suite, but you have the capacity to do it now, do it now.
do it now.
Trust, do it now, because those thoughts of I can't, I don't have enough money, I don't have these, those are always going to be there, right, Nikki?
Oh my
Those
God.
limiting,
When
they
I
don't go
started the
away.
Slice Squad, I think in my head, I said, I'm going to start this online. So back when I started the Slice Squad in 2019, I I think I maybe had like 50,000 followers on Instagram, which is a great number, but in my
Mhm.
head, it wasn't enough to be an authority figure.
Uh-huh.
That people were going to listen to me. So I had in my head, I will start this when I have 100,000 followers. And then one day, I don't remember, I was listening to a podcast, but I don't remember which one. And that's the power of education, because this stuff like changes your life when you
Mm-hmm.
listen to the right things and watch the right things.
Literally.
And I think the person who was hosting the podcast said, you don't have to wait to be a certain level of his success before you take action on your goals. And I was like, oh wait, what am I doing?
Why
That's a
am I
limiting
doing this?
belief. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find somebody to develop this website for me, and I'm just gonna put skin in the game, as you say, and make it
And clearly
happen.
it's paid off in
It
the
has.
results of the people. Guys, I'm on her Facebook group and I see these people commenting about how much these techniques change their business. Like older hairdressers whose bodies are burnt out, like mine, right? Like to do a 5 hour I love it, but my body at the end of a 5 hour transformation says, fuck you. And I'm inflamed and I'm swollen for like 3 days. And so people like me who are like, oh my God, these techniques actually look similar, but are half the time. Or newbies, right? The baby stylists on your page who are like, oh my God, I didn't have the confidence. And like, wow, now I feel like I can tackle new clients. Like it's 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 wild how many people have benefited. So by you risking, by you putting skin in the game, by you not holding off, you've kind of fulfilled what in our core is connecting and helping. So
Yeah.
to those of you who are listening, if you take one thing away from this, it's well, somebody told me this, and I'm going to butcher it, but just to paraphrase it, like it's selfish of you to not share what your purpose or your talent is. It's selfish.
Do
So
not gatekeep your talents.
don't gatekeep. Yeah, like you don't know who you could help
Yeah.
just by, if you take that risk, whether it's to be an independent educator, whether it's to be a salon owner, whatever that is, like, yes, it's hard for you, but it's going to pay off in so many ways that maybe you didn't even think about,
Hmm.
right? That
Yeah.
maybe didn't even register. So one of the questions I had for Nicki, and I think we've kind of talked about this, like if people are afraid to try a new technique on a client, or they're afraid to like, maybe they don't have the confidence, what would you say? What advice would you give them?
Educate. Don't be afraid to fail. Try it on a mannequin, try it on a family member. That's how I learned these techniques. I was like, my cousin would come in and I'm like, I might fuck up your hair, but I'll fix it if I do. I just have to try something. And she's like, okay. And if I
Amazing.
couldn't find a family member that was willing, and granted, I didn't really mess up anybody's hair. I mean, maybe the first few root smudges I did were too transparent, so I had to go back over them. But you know, find find a family member, find a mannequin. But I already made the mistakes for you guys. So like you don't if there's a technique that you want to do and you're following
It's
the steps that I
probably
tell
in
you to
your
follow,
app. Yeah.
it's going to work out. But for me, like when I first started, I was like, I have this idea, but I don't know if it's going to work. So I had to kind of keep tweaking these ideas until they did work. And yeah, it's just not being afraid to fail. Like you'll fix it. If you mess something up, you'll fix it. That's it. Like you're not gonna damage somebody or like hurt somebody's hair so much that you can't fix
Yeah,
it.
like you
Find
guys are smart.
people.
You're not going to burn somebody's hair off. You'll
No,
know if the hair is not in integrity, right? And it's
find
going to
people who
melt.
are willing to be models and understand that you're learning a new technique, and or use mannequins. Both great tools
Yeah.
that we have at our disposal. And you mess up, you mess up. So what? Not the end of the world.
I think one of the things I've learned in talking to a lot of people in this industry who would be considered educators or higher authority figures I was talking to Lacey Worley a couple weeks ago. We interviewed her, or I
Yeah.
interviewed her, and she's like, every cabinet in my salon has mannequin heads. And this is a woman who's been doing hair for over 15 years. My salon, I've been doing hair for 22 years, is full of doll heads. So please don't ever get to a place in your career where you think you're too good to have to practice or try something.
You
Um,
are not.
you're not too good for that, and realistically that's what's going to make you better, because this little box that we create for ourselves, like this is how I do highlights, and this is what I use for my root colors, and this is what I use for my toners, and this is how I do my books. Like that little box, your big goals, your big dreams, your big wishes are like outside of that box,
Mhm.
right? And so the only way to get out there is to put yourself out there, to practice and to educate yourself. um the last thing I want to talk about with you, Nicki, is because I think there's a lot of people who watch your content and this, we talked about it vaguely a little bit, but I want to bring it back. There's people who watch your videos, who watch your content, and they're like, oh my God, I've already learned so much just from watching what she's posting on um, Instagram. There are people who, like some of you who are following me, and I put a lot of educational content with chemicals and eyes and all of that stuff. Like, wow, I've learned a lot. What do you think is the difference? And I know this is a no-brainer, but let's just chat about investing in your education versus just watching on social media. Like I
Oh,
said, we covered this earlier, but like I kind of want to talk about it a little bit more in depth, because there's so many of you who are hesitant on pulling the trigger in investing because you feel like on YouTube, on Instagram, on Reels that like you're getting education? What would you say to that?
You are getting education from those things and you are getting value, but those are typically just like a little glimpse into what we actually have to offer. Like, we don't obviously put everything that we know on social media. That's just a taste. And then you get like the real good, juicy stuff inside. And again, like just having the skin in the game is going to make you absorb so much more. And yeah, I mean, yeah, you can learn stuff on social media and you should, but there's just so much more than what you're seeing there and that you could absorb in a 30, 60 second video.
Right. Think about it that way, guys. These are 60-second reels. So is it little doses of education? Cool. But what most course creators or educators, because listen, I pay for a lot of subscriptions. I do every month.
Me
Like my
too.
husband's
Yeah.
like, do you really need all this? And I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I do, because I want to see how everybody's doing. I can learn something from everyone. Um, and it's so wild how what's posted on Instagram really is about 10% of what's really being shared. And so I wanted your thoughts on it, Nikki, because people are like, oh yeah, she just takes big old sections, bleaches both sides of it, and then smudges it. And I'm like, oh, it's a little more than that, right? And so
Yeah, but then they
it's
come
so
to me and they're like, "What?" And they're like, "Why is so can I see the top section like exactly how
yeah,
you do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, but you have to pay me."
yeah. Like I will show you my like hello. And
Like you
you
can use
guys,
what you learn from me, but like, yeah, I mean, even though you don't have to, I give 2 weeks for free of the Slice Squad, so you could just use it. But yeah, I'm not going to give you like the in depth stuff in this little glimpse that you're getting on social media. I'm going to give you the basics. There's just so much more that you should know. And that goes for you too, like with the fundamentals. It's so in depth, and you're such an incredible educator
thank
that
you.
I mean, it's just so worth investing in, and it's so worth investing in yourself and like actually getting into the nitty gritty and not just these little highlights. But
Right.
my videos too are like they're pretty short, even in the squad. They're like 15 minutes long because I don't have the attention span, so I assume nobody else
Thank
does
you.
either.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm the same. I'm like, if it's longer than 17 to 18 minutes, I'm out. So most likely everybody else is going to be out too. That's why I love your videos, but it's 17 or 18 or 15 minutes, but it's so in depth and there's so many videos, right? It's not just one or two videos or five videos. Like you have a lot of videos in the
Yeah.
library.
And then like the certification program is way more in depth than even that. Like that goes to the next level, but not everybody is in a place in their career to do that either. So it's like, but at the end of the day, yeah, we love us educators love giving you glimpses of what we do and adding value to your lives, but you're just getting a glimpse and it's always better to get more than a glimpse.
And I will say this, what I want you guys to think about, just perspective here. When an educator or a stylist is giving so much in their page, they're giving you tips, they're giving you, these glimpses that are still very, very valuable. And when you DM them asking for more without paying, that is almost equivalent to a client coming to your chair and paying for their service, but not paying for their toner, their root melt, and their deep conditioning and the shampoo and conditioner they take home.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
So you would be upset if a client tried to take advantage of you. So, and I'm not complaining about this. I get so many questions in my DMs about formulations, and people send me pictures like, what would you do? And like, I want to help, but there's also a place where it's just like, but I can't do that for everybody. I can't have 60
No.
people a day. Hey, look at my eyes and tell me what my limbo ring is. Hey, would you like, I want you guys to think about what you're doing when you DM people. So asking for help is one thing, but asking for free advice, you would never, ever, ever tolerate that from a client asking for free stuff. So don't expect that from the
You're
educators.
so right.
And
I do get like 60, 70, 80 DMs a day asking me for my advice. And my solution to that, all of the answers to these questions are in the Slice Squad. If you want, eh, if you want more than what's in the Site Squad, like more of me, then you've got the certification program where you're with me for 8 weeks.
Yeah. So we
You
we
know?
all have options,
Yeah.
and I just want you guys as stylists to just be aware of how you approach, how you communicate, and what you're expecting, because a lot of us as stylists, we bitch about how clients reach out to us, right? Like we talk about, hey, I need my hair done tomorrow, and like you guys get mad that the client didn't say hello or didn't wasn't nice, but you guys are the same sometimes in the DMs. Like,
Hmm.
so just think about, it's like the golden rule, right? Like treat others how you want to be treated. Okay. So that was a whole total tangent, but just some
But also, I
perspective.
want you to know that I'm grateful and I'm glad you're coming to me for advice and
A
I'm happy to help
million
where I can.
percent.
We just can't give all to everybody. So I try to give a lot of me to people that invest.
Right. And think about it too. Like if I tell you the answer, there's no learning that happens there.
No, none.
So I have done a disservice. Like some of you are like, how would you formulate for this? And it's like, I want to work through it with you instead of give
Hmm.
you the answer. Because if I give you the answer, then you're going to take that and use it and nothing was learned. And then you're going to ask another time. So
Yep.
my goal, at least with understanding hair and formulation, is to teach you how to do it, not just tell you what to do. And I think Nikki's the same with the Slice Squad in her videos, right? Like she's not just telling, she's telling you why and why this works and why this place, there's so much value in the learning process of it, but we're all such instant gratification people that we want it
Yeah.
everything now. And we could do that, but then it's a disservice. It's
Yeah.
an absolute disservice. So, okay, I want to talk about a couple things. So, first,
Yeah.
with your Slice Squad annual membership, you have always a deal going on, or not always, but you have a deal going on. The date that this episode goes live, you will still have this deal,
Yes.
right? So, what is it?
It's gonna be so normally the Site Squad yearly annual membership is $299.25 for the year, and it's gonna be $100 off, so $199.25
For 12 months.
for 12
And
months.
here's the cool thing, guys. It's not like it's dripped content. Like, once you sign up, you get access to all of it,
Yep.
plus what's coming. So you have a whole ass library of
Hmm.
videos on technique, on product, on mindset, on manifestation. Like there's a lot in there that you get access to. So that's an amazing deal. And then I want you to talk about this certification, um, and what it looks like. And it's not for everybody, right, Nikki? Like this is just
No, definitely not. So there were actually I've interviewed so I spent all of last week doing interviews for like my first cohort of the certification program and I ended a few of the interviews early. I mean, I spent like 45 minutes with each person. I ended a few of the interviews early because I'm like, you know what, we got a little work to do before we get you to the point of this, and that's okay. Or like maybe this just isn't right for you and right for your business model, and I'm going to be honest about that. But it's an 8 week, I don't want to call it a boot camp, it's like it's a certification program, but it requires commitment from you. There's a lot of like Zoom calls, there's a lot of coaching trainings, but I guarantee an hour sliced off of your timing if you take it. At the end we do a final exam with a mannequin head, even though it's digital. Um, there's going to be a final, and then you get Slice Squad certified at the end. But we also focus on mindset, manifestation, setting goals. We do business, how to build up your books, how to schedule your clients the way that I schedule mine. And then of course the nitty gritty of the techniques, like really in depth on how to know what to choose and when to use it and all that fun stuff. So and that's
so
something that you have
cool.
to interview for, that you can't just sign up for. So if anyone is interested in that or thinks that that might be a good fit for them, then you just have to send me a private message so that I could get you on my books for a call.
So I think did the idea of this kind of, I mean, obviously it morphed from the Slice Squad to the app to this certification, but I remember you telling me that you get messages from clients randomly saying, "Do you know any stylists in my area?" Right? Is
Like
that
30 times a week. And I'm like, okay, I've had 6,500 stylists or so go through the Slice Squad. Yes, and that's amazing. But I have no way of knowing whether they've absorbed the information, whether they're utilizing the techniques. So I didn't feel comfortable recommending. So this is a way for me to not only ensure that they're actually slicing the time off and getting the value in their business. So like I know that I'm helping these people like slice their timing down, utilize these techniques, and now I'm comfortable enough to add them to a registry where other clients
that's
could find
awesome.
them and know here's a time slicer, you know?
That is so, so, so cool. And I'm excited to see where that goes for you.
Who
I'm honored
knows?
because Nikki asked if I could help with the formulation part of it. So I'm super stoked on that. I'm a fan of everything that Nikki does. I think um, a lot of these educators like you, and I feel like myself, have the integrity of really trying to help this industry. And those
Oh
are the
yeah.
people that I align with. Those are the people that I want to work with. And so it's kind of turned into a really great working relationship and friendship with Nikki over this last, I don't know, like a year. We've kind
Yeah,
of
I value
been
you
getting to
so
go.
much at us. Like I value the information that you have. You are clearly an expert in something that I'm not an expert in. So of course I'm going to bring you in if you're willing. So
Yeah, and I am always willing. Okay, so with that, I do want to let you guys know that when this episode airs, that Nikki and I are collabing for a giveaway. So I'm super excited for this because there's a lot of you who are interested and have wanted to take on the fundamentals. I know there's a lot of you who, from Nikki and from me, who are interested in bringing or investing in the Slice Squad. And so what we wanted to do was collaborate. I love doing giveaways. I think it's a lot of fun. So we are teaming up to do I'm going to give away the Combed Education Fundamentals course. So you will get access to the online course and you will get your very own fun box with all the things. I'll show it on the video. When you guys are on the podcast, you can't see it, but you can look it on YouTube. So there is the fun box with everything that you need. This is a messy one, but everything that you need to do your course is in that box. So that's valued at $11.11. And then Nikki is giving away 1 whole year of the Slice Squad. So you will have the chance to have 12 months access to the Slice Squad, um, and all the perks that come with it, right? Like all the
yeah.
videos, the app, and all of that. So when if you go to our profiles, either at Nicki Wildflower or at This Is Autos, I'm gonna link it all underneath this podcast caption. But you can enter for a chance. You can have unlimited entries, tag as many hairdresser friends, and then we will randomly pick a winner. So I would highly encourage you guys to enter that giveaway. It's valued at over $1,300, and we're willing to give that away because we do care about this industry. And
Of
I
course.
think there are some people who financially maybe can't or aren't fully ready to commit, and maybe this could be your lucky chance in getting you on that road to education and the value of education.
Yeah.
So with that, I just want to close this with Nikki. I appreciate you. I value you. I thank you. I am constantly inspired by you, and I'm so happy that you agreed to come on and give my audience a little glimpse of you, because I think, there's the social media version that we all showcase, but then having a conversation for 30 or 40 minutes with somebody, you really kind of get to see their character and get to see their essence. And I hope those of you who are listening can see and hear and feel Nikki's essence and what she really stands for, because I'm super drawn to it. I'm grateful for you. So thank you for
I'm
coming
grateful
on.
for you too. Thank you so much for having me. And I feel the same way about you. It's all mutual. And I'm so glad to that we connected.
So awesome. I hope this was valuable for you guys who are listening. Hey, do me a favor, if you're listening or you're watching or however you're consuming this little interview, take a screenshot, share it in your stories, tag Nikki, and tag me so that we know that you guys are listening. And with that, we're going to call it. Thank you, Nikki.